My guest on today's podcast is Monique. Monique opens up about a challenging work environment that led to a lot of health issues. She shares about the tipping point that ultimately led to her deciding it was time to retire early. And finally, she reveals how that even though she's enjoying retirement, there's still a couple unforeseen challenges that she continues to work through. It's all coming up next on today's episode of Ready for Retirement. Joining me today is Monique Blasquez. Monique, welcome.
Hi. How are you?
Really excited to have you. We, of course, have known each other for some time. I think you get a really interesting journey that want to just unpack a little bit and share with some people here. But to start and to kick us off, do you mind sharing what you did prior to retiring for work?
Sure. I worked like 30 plus years in finance. The longest I worked at was at a tech company for 21 years. And my role in finance has always been analyzing costs, forecasting spend, and staying within budgets, all exciting stuff in finance. So that's been my role.
All exciting stuff. Small company, large company. What was the
Very
company?
large company. Very large company.
Okay.
So I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, but it's just a very large tech company.
A very large tech company. Okay. And
Yes.
so you did so for 20 plus years.
Yes.
When did you start thinking about retirement?
I started planning my retirement 5 years before I actually pulled the trigger. I started, there was my company culture was changing, and a particular event like kind of set off the wheels in motion where I was in a department meeting. I was given an assignment that had a very accelerated due date. And I asked a lot of questions in the meeting of my boss. And later, I got called into his office for being disrespectful. And I was kind of like, what happened? And apparently, I asked too many questions in front of a lot of junior analysts. And it was weird because company culture wise, after he got his promotion, he was more concerned about the optics of being questioned in front of junior analysts instead of liking these open discussions he used to love before. So my company was going towards more of a hierarchy culture, which I thought this is not for me anymore. And I literally was thinking, can I retire early? I was just wondering if I could. So that's kind of what set things off in motion.
And when did you actually retire? What was the year and how old were you?
I retired in 2022. It was a year later than I wanted to retire, but that's okay. I wanted to retire at 55 and I ended up retiring around like 56. So it was like, it's good enough. Uh, yeah. So that was kind of when I did it.
So you started thinking about retirement 50,
Mhm.
51. Was it literally that singular incident that pushed you towards really seriously considering it, or had it always been a thought in the back of your head?
Work-life balance was a bit much. The company scaled really big, but my particular team did not scale with it. So without additional resources, you end up working, evenings, weekends, uh, holidays, and sometimes vacations. And it's too much work. So my work-life balance was thrown completely, which then affected my health. And I used to, I just didn't even have time to do regular things. I certainly couldn't exercise, but I couldn't eat right. It was affecting my sleep. So all of those things in general actually helped start me down that path. It was just building up. But that one particular department meeting was like, wow, what am I doing with my life?
Mhm.
You know?
Mhm. It really brought things in focus. Now, what were those next 5 years like? What did you begin doing to see if you could make that happen?
I started schooling myself by listening to just a ton of financial podcasts. And, you know, I was mildly irritated with some of them because they would touch on really good topics, but then as they go through it, they never quite answered any of the questions and instead ended it by saying, oh, and if you want to know more, you can call us at 1-800 blah, 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 or check out our website. I said, what just happened? Did I sign up for an infomercial or what? So I kept trying to educate myself. At the same time, I found a group of people that apparently were playing the lotto. They were trying, I said, why are you guys buying lotto tickets? And they said, we're trying to retire early. And I said, oh, sign me up. I'll be your fourth person. There were four of us there. And that's it. We took turns buying lotto tickets. And, if we didn't hit it big and we got a little bit, then we would just go buy lunch together. But we did not stop. We were talking about plans of retiring early. It was lovely.
How long
Um,
did you do that for? How long did you and that group purchase lotto tickets?
oh my God. We must have, I mean, during the 5 years I was playing, probably like 3 years, I was like
Mhm.
playing with these guys. I was like, come on, when are we going to hit it big? Are you even going to give 2 weeks notice? What are you going to do when you retire? I mean, we just kept like, I didn't want to give up on the thought of retiring early.
Yeah.
And that's where actually I I said I need a financial advisor. I need to find out. I've been saving and investing. I I paid off my mortgage, but I still didn't know if I had it. I said I need somebody professional to tell me, can I retire early or not? And then I ran into your podcast and I was listening to it and I said, "Oh my God, it's like a breath of fresh air right here because your points were clear. You actually gave potential strategies. I know you can't give an answer one size fits all to everybody, but you gave stuff enough knowledge for people to think about and some potential strategies that we could implement. And I said, I'm going to check out the website. I have never done this before in my life. And I just signed up for like an initial consultation and the rest is history. So,
Yeah.
it was good stuff.
Well, thank you for that. And then what was fascinating to me in that, Monique, is you had been a good saver. We won't go into details, but you had been a good saver and investor and you'd done well.
Mm.
There was this sense that the lottery would be the thing, the magical ticket to quote unquote delivery to the promised land. Was there a number in your head where you said, if I won $1 million, would I retire? It does it need to be 10 million? Does it need to be 20? What was going through your mind as you were playing that?
Yeah, you know what? That's the thing. I mean, of course, the bigger the amount, the better, right? But I just sat there sitting, saying like, how much? Maybe 2 million. Like 2 million. If we split this between these guys, how much does that have to be? We were checking our odds. I know the odds were crap, but I just sat there going, this was desperation on my part. I needed to get a chunk of money so that I would feel secure because I was worried that I didn't have enough. And I didn't know what enough was.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's like at some point I said, like I'm in finance. I thought I know a little bit about money. But apparently, when I listened to your podcast, I didn't know anything. So I said, I need help. I can't just sit here, play the lotto all the time and not know if this is going to even be enough anyway,
Mm-hmm.
or sustain me in the future.
That sense of enough is always fascinating because it's such a non-specific thing, but it's
Hmm.
very much based upon really our experiences around money. What, if you don't mind sharing, what was money like for you even growing up?
Oh my God. Look, in the sixth grade, I still remember this. In the sixth grade, I got really upset that my subsidized lunch of 10 cents a day was going to 50 cents a day because they reviewed my parents' income and it was higher. I was fried. I was like, what? I mean, I literally did not like the cost increase. I'm a kid who actually saved my birthday money for long periods of time. I mean, what kid does that, right? But I'm not going to just spend it on junk. I want to think about my purchases, right? And my whole career has been built around cost. It's never on the revenue side of things. It's always like how much stuff costs. And, you know, it's that's just I've lived on a strict budget. I'm a saver is basically, how it is at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, but that's pretty much been my relationship with saving and investing. I just want to have more
Mm-hmm.
so that I can feel secure, you
So
know?
what was it you're balancing this sense of you can always have more. There's always more to be saved, more to be invested. You're there's the tension between that and being fairly miserable at work. Being called in, I remember you sharing on
Mm.
Christmas Day, being called in on weekends, being called in and away from family. How did you balance that? Of was there a dollar amount that you felt like you hit and you said, okay, that's finally enough? Or was it something different that you gave you the peace of mind to actually be able to retire?
I felt like I had a lot. I needed the peace of mind. It's a bit like when you're in college and you're taking all these classes and you need to talk to a counselor going, am I going to graduate or not? Somebody tell me if I have enough units. I needed to talk to someone like that, someone that could tell me if this amount of money that I have is going to last me in the future. I was worried about like, long-term healthcare costs. I'm worried about what happens to this portfolio if we go into a down market. Do I have to go back to work? I don't want to do that. So I really needed more peace of mind. I felt like we had a lot, but I needed somebody to tell me that was going to be enough for the future.
Hmm. Hmm.
Right.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, thank you for that. I'm going to come back to this in a minute, but you did ultimately make the decision to retire. You retired at 56, still
Hmm.
fairly young, very young for the retirement grand scheme of things. How did that transition go for you?
That was amazing. There was hardly a transition. Um, you had those four phases, right? Of retirement. I think I spent like 2 seconds in the vacation phase of things, and then I jumped to the fourth phase
Mhm.
because I have hobbies and
And
interests.
do you recall, by the way, those phases off the top of your head, just for the audience if they're unaware?
Oh, I think like okay, I think the first phase, oh, this is a test. The first phase was like the vacation phase,
Vacation.
right?
Hmm.
The second one is it's not the depression phase. What do you call
Yeah, a
it?
feeling of loss, or
Yeah.
feeling lost and a feeling of loss.
Yes, feeling lost, not sure like what you're supposed to do with yourself. It can be depressing. I think the third one, I believe the phase was you're kind of trial and error. You're sort of reinventing
Yep.
yourself, trying to see what works for you. And the fourth one, I guess, is I don't think you called it nirvana, but the fourth one is where you finally are happy and you've found,
The rewirement, the purpose. Yeah, which comes from Dr. Riley Moynes, who's on the pod. I think it's episode 220 if anyone wants
yeah.
to hear that. But yes, sorry, just wanted to make sure that
Oh,
we
that was a very interesting show.
and a lot of people they get stuck in that uh sense of loss phase. I will say, even especially people kind of like you, Monique, who, yes, you didn't love work, but you had given so much to work
Yes.
that it becomes hard to reinvent yourself and to find that sense of who am I actually, because I've been just so consumed by work.
Mhm.
Did you struggle with that at all? And
Mm.
if not, what do you attribute that to?
No, first of all, my brother told me, hey, when you stop working, you're going to miss it. You're not going to know what to do with yourself. And I said, you're going to be so wrong because the moment I retired, I already had a plan. I had already thought about what I want to do. There are hobbies and interests that I have that I just haven't been able to do because work is always in my face. I can't pursue any of these. I can't devote any time to any of these hobbies and interests. So as soon as I got out of work, it's like, that's it. I'm going full tilt on all these things I've always wanted to do, but never could. That's pretty much it. That's why it was like, it just literally hit the ground running.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Plus two, I'm a person who actually needs structure. So while the vacation phase is fun, I could stay up until 3 a.m. watching all kinds of movies if I want to. I can do whatever I want, right? But that's not something that's sustainable. And for me, it's has no structure. I need structure in retirement. So my perfect day is if I have part of my day is productive and the other part of my day is just having fun, just screwing around, doing whatever. So that is literally how my schedule is right now. The
When
first
did
half,
you learn that about yourself?
um, the structure part, that's just the way I am. How I was going to structure my day, though, I had to think about that for a second. That's why I was doing a lot of planning. I figured out that I'm better if in the morning I think a little bit clearer. So I'm going to do all the productive stuff. Like paying bills, appointments, running errands, like just doing things that have to be done, right? The second half of my day is just for creative projects. If I want to catch up on that TV show, I can do all kinds of things for fun at the second half of my day. And I learned how to balance that. Now it's done really. I like it. I like the way it is right now.
Yeah.
So
So you've loved retirement. It's been a little over 2 years now. Has it been all butterflies and rainbows, or have there been challenges even in retirement?
now, I mean, there's some butterflies every now and then. Like I think I might have told you that when I was working, I used to see my neighbors all putzing around in their gardens out there, and I used to get kind of envious. Like I want to just be at home, like, putzing around too. It felt like a club I couldn't get into. But once I retired, now I would go out there and I wave at the neighbors and we wave back at each other. It's like a beautiful thing. So it is butterflies sometimes, right? It's so freeing. But I do have a couple of challenges. One of them is I'm one of those crazy people who can't get out of the saving mode and I can't become a spender. And it's stupid because it's like, why did I save and invest this whole time? Wasn't it to spend in retirement? And I'm not doing it. And I think I figured out why. I don't
Hmm.
think I've told you this before. I figured this out. It's it's because I've been controlling our personal finances to the cent forever. It's always me that's managing all the money. Now that Root Financial is managing the bulk of our portfolio, I think that's great because now there's people, I'm relieved because there's people smarter than me that are overseeing our money. That's wonderful. The problem is psychologically is that I feel like the only money I get disconnected. I feel like the only money I have is the part that I'm controlling, which is just my checking account and some emergency savings. And so I feel like I'm so disconnected that when I meet with Root Financial to go over our stuff, I look at the portfolio, I'm like, wow, those people have a nice portfolio. I said, oh, that's us. Oh my God. I did, I free, what's wrong with me, right? So I feel like the only money I have is the part that I'm controlling. Therefore, the spending gets conservative. And that's why I'm not spending. And I'm like, that's just something I have to square with. It's not because Root Financial tells me it's okay to spend. It's a me problem. I need to get over myself. I need to understand, we're not going to be here forever. What am I doing? I need to enjoy myself. If I want to spend it, I should spend it, right? I don't need to be in the saving mode anymore. But that's just something I have to square with. The other issue I have is I just found out that my travel views are causing disappointment in my family. Um, when I had my initial consultation with Root, you guys asked me, what do you want to do in retirement? And travel was never one of those things. I never said the word travel. However, my family is expecting me, they expected that once I retired, I would travel more because that's what normal people do. And I so don't want to. I want to stay home. I put a lot of time and effort into making my home such a nice place. And while I was working, I was never here to enjoy it. Now I get to enjoy it. But the problem is now that I'm doing what I want to, I feel like I might be robbing my family of all these experiences they thought they were going to have with me if I traveled. And
Mhm.
I'm not trying. So I need to keep working through that. I wouldn't say that I overcame that. I think they're still trying to understand what's wrong with me. So I, I need to kind of work that out. I don't know. That's just something that I never thought I would have to deal with. And I feel like I'm also going to have some future challenges. My husband hasn't retired yet, but he's going to. But he has no idea what he's going to do in retirement. My brother wants to retire early too, and we all live together. We have a very unique living situation. My brother's family lives with us. And but if he doesn't figure out what he wants to do, then all this lovely alone time I have with these projects that I have are going to get affected by, at least for sure, affected by my husband not knowing what he's going to do in retirement, right? He could potentially harsh my buzz, and I'm just going to be like, uh-oh, I can't have my alone time to do my fun stuff, right? Because I got to worry about that he's doing okay. And I told him, you better think about this ahead of time. You still have like probably about a year or so before you're going to, but I'm not sure if he's heeding my advice. So I'm hoping people do need to think about what they're going to do in retirement. I think people lots of times know what they're retiring from, but they don't know what they're retiring to.
Mhm.
And that's something to think about, honestly.
Well, thank you for sharing all of that, Monique. I know it's easy to say, yeah, it's great. I wave my neighbors, I tend the flowers, I enjoy life, and all is good. But there are real challenges. A
Hmm.
few things I want to talk about. You need to retire to something. But
Yeah.
let's assume that you know what you're retiring to,
Hmm.
and your husband knows what he's retiring to. If there's not communication about that, it could lead to challenges. I'm curious, how did it come about? That was there an intervention where the family said, "Hey, Monique, you're ruining our travel plans," or was it just you starting to become more aware of conflict between what they wanted to do and what you wanted to do?
Yeah. So every time, so my brother and his family love to travel. They've been going all over the place. And every time they're planning, they look over at me and and my husband and they go, "Do you guys want to come with us?" And I'm like going, I'm okay. That's the standard answer I give. I'm okay. And my husband just looks at me like, "Really? You don't want to go anywhere?" And I'm like, "No, I'm good. I don't want to go." And it was like my brother was asking me, "Are you just never going to go anywhere? Don't you want to see something new? Don't you want to go out, blah, blah, blah?" And I'm like, "No." And I feel like they're still working me. They're still trying to come up with like, "Oh, okay, what if we don't fly to Asia? What if we just fly something closer? Like Hawaii." I feel like they're trying to find that special place that might make me say yes. And I feel like they're slowly coming to the realization like, you're not going to come with us, are you? You're not going to travel anywhere ever again. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't feel like traveling. I'm not a good traveler anymore. That's part of it because I think something happened to me as I approached like 50. I don't travel so well anymore. I get motion sickness. There's anxiety with flying. There's all kinds of junk that happens to me. That's for another type of podcast. But anyway, I I don't know. I have no desire to travel. I don't know why. It's
Mhm.
abnormal, but they I feel like they're still trying to get me to go, but at some point I think they might realize it's might not happen. But I feel bad. I do. They want to go so much,
Mhm.
someplace with me and so that we can have fun together. And I'm like, I feel like me saying no all the time is really putting a damper on things.
Mm.
So
Mm. Well, that I'll go back to that communication piece is very rarely are both spouses or all family members on the same exact page. Yeah, you think travel. What do you see on the commercials? What do you see on the websites? You see sailboats. You see people walking on the beach. And there's a sense of you're supposed to do that. So of course we're going to retire and do that. But it sounds like there's one, a lot of self-awareness of what Monique does and doesn't enjoy doing. And like
mm,
you said, you're really enjoying retirement.
yeah.
It's just not because you're traveling or doing the things that people maybe think of when they think of traditional retirement. But maybe an encouragement to everyone who is listening, that communication piece, the sooner that does begin, the better. It doesn't mean there's perfect resolution, but it can be the sense of, wait, we're retired now. And what do you mean you don't want to take that trip with us? Or what do you mean you don't want to do this thing that I just assumed we would be doing at that time?
Yeah, I think some of these challenges, while it would be nice for me to say, and I got a resolution to both of them, they're really both open-ended. The saber spender thing, sometimes I do well, and then other times I'll negate what I just did. So I, like a couple of weeks ago, I went and I bought something that's completely useless, but I really liked it. And I said, okay, this is it. I can spend if I want to. And then the following week, I did something that completely erased that. I haven't even told you I did this yet. I sold my car and I sold it for cost avoidance reasons. My insurance was coming up, my registration was coming up, and I was told that when I take it in for service, I have to do my 10-year service. It's gonna cost me upwards of 2,000 plus, right? And I said, I don't even drive this car that much anymore because I'm at home all the time. I said, nah, I'm gonna sell this car and I got a pretty good price for it. And now I have even more money to save. And it's just like, what did I just do? And all this to say, I am making no progress on that particular challenge, but all I can say is I'm working on it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm learning a lot about myself and I'm trying to work on it. I know that that's a problem.
Do you recall the exercise we went through a few
Yeah.
months back now?
Oh,
I'll fill the audience in just real quick on the exercise. It's an election year, so it's especially relevant where there's a few different ways to do it. But say you take the portion of your portfolio that you could sustainably spend, but you're not spending for one reason or another. And I'll ask you the question, Monique, okay, we're in an election year. My guess is you don't, or you're not totally in love with both candidates. But let's just assume that you are going to choose one candidate that you like less, maybe even despise. If you don't spend this money, let's just call it $100,000 this year that you could spend, all
mhm.
that money is going to be donated to that political candidate that you just totally despise
Yeah.
if you don't spend it.
Yeah.
And then you walk through the exercise of what are the first things that come to mind. It could be a house cleaner. It could be first class tickets. It could be giving money to charity. It could be, and I remember you wrestled with that. And I was like,
Yeah.
well, could I gift it to my brother who ultimately
Yeah.
disappears? And like roundabout way, it comes back in my savings account. And it's no, Monique,
Yeah.
that's not an option. You have to spend it or give it away. And it was just challenging. Do
I
you
I
do you know why that
failed.
is?
Why?
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's in the blood. I don't understand like why. Yeah, my first instinct when you said 100,000, I said, okay, I want to save it, is what I want to do. And if I can't, he goes, oh, you can't save it. I said, well, I'll just give it to my brother. And then when this exercise is over, he'll give it back to me and I'll put it in my savings. I'm like, what is wrong with me? Why can't I? Here's part of it too. Material things, of course, we like a lot of nice material things and stuff, but material things are not what drives the source of my happiness. And I've realized growing older, material stuff means even less. So that's why I haven't found any material thing that I would like to just blow money on. It doesn't matter to me to have
Mm-hmm.
those things. And instead, it also becomes like clutter in the
Yep.
house. I don't need it, right? Secondly, I'm really having a heart attack with how much things cost right now. Can't, I just know I'm getting robbed every time I'm about to, like, how much does this cost? I'm still getting sticker shock after all this time. And I refuse to pay some of these prices. I just won't buy it. And so I'm waiting for the prices to go down. I don't know. I'm waiting. I'll never not buy anything that's not on sale. I can't help it. It's in the blood. So I need to kind of push myself. I am trying. Okay, here's one thing I'm trying. I am trying to plan a small vacation. Uh, one of my nieces has never been to Disneyland, and I know that cost a fortune to go to, but that's okay. I feel like this might be worth it. This might be an experience that I want to have with my two nieces that live with me. Um, I think that would. I am seriously considering that. I know it's going to cost, but it's worth it. I think,
Yeah.
to do that. How many times do you get to go to Disneyland with the kid for the first time? She's just going to go crazy. She's going to go bonkers when she sees it. And I want to be there when it happens. So
Yeah.
I'll get there. I'm trying really hard, is all I have to say.
Well,
So
there's a few different angles to look at this from. The first and foremost, the good news is you're really enjoying retirement. It's not as if you're sacrificing like crazy and miserable because you're not doing things. So that's obviously the bigger priority. The second thing is it doesn't always have to be spending money on something. One, it can be an experience, although technically that is spending money on something, but that's always some, very rarely do people regret that. But this is more so for the audience, but sometimes it can be not like a what's on my to-do list of things to purchase, but what's on my not to do list. Like what things do I really not enjoy doing? I
Mhm.
can't stand doing yard work. I can't stand cleaning the house. I don't like do. Can I use money to pay to buy my time back or my convenience back by having someone else do that? But I think the fact that it is top of mind is something I appreciate you sharing with the audience, because it's not like you're retired and all of a sudden a switch is flipped and all of a sudden you can stop saving and start spending. That is part of who you are, and it's 2+ years into retirement, and it's still something that's very much top of mind and something that you, I don't want to say struggle with, but continue to think and reflect on of what does this look like? What do I do with the money I've saved my whole life now that I'm in retirement?
Yeah, I think that that's it. I mean, and you and Ari says the same thing on his podcast, that it's like the contest is not to see who could die with the most money, right? I mean, that's just dumb. But at the same time, a lot of my hobbies and interests, it requires more time than it does money. It just happens to be that way. So it's the things that I like to do don't require a lot of spending of money anyway. And so it's, I don't know, it is something that I'm going to have to adjust to. But don't worry, my whole family is constantly all over me. They're coming at me all the time, going like, don't be so cheap, Monique, just do it, just do something, spend it. If you want to do it. I honestly think that it's starting to have an effect.
Right.
So it's my family's helping me out.
They're helping, yeah, a good positive environment of healthy encouragement. And granted, like this is because you're in a position to be able to do that.
Mhm.
If you aren't well saved and haven't prepared, it's a totally different conversation. So there's some nuance even to this type of conversation. I do want to go through some quick questions because I really appreciate you opening up on all this. To start with, you mentioned health was a challenge because of sleeplessness and the demands. And how has health been since retiring?
Oh, oh, this would be shocking. I eat better. I sleep better. I exercise more, right? Shocking. But I mean, it's more, I have time now to concentrate on my health. When before, when I was working, I used to think that like when we're closing the books and we're in the middle of quarter end, it is so intense that I used to get annoyed. I have to do human things like eat lunch, drink water, go to the restroom. All those things take up time. I don't have time. I was literally like that. So I think now that everything is slowed down, I don't have those kind of, you know, deadlines in front of me anymore. I'm a lot more peaceful. I can concentrate on my health. I can be more mindful about, what I eat, how much water I'm intaking. I go see my doctor, do the blood test each year so I can check myself out. Everything is a lot better. I feel like I'm more focused on that because it's true. If you don't have your health, I couldn't do anything. I can't do anything without my health, right? So I want to concentrate on that. I think like mentally, emotionally, hey, look, I don't dread waking up in the morning, right? I used to dread waking up in the morning. I have to put on a different persona because that's just sort of a dumb defense mechanism you have in the working world, right? So you can deal with with the stress out there. I don't have to do that anymore. I can just kind of be me, and I can relax. Um, and I really appreciate things more. I mean, 2+ years into retirement, like you said, you know, having like a cup of coffee in the morning without getting bothered with a bunch of questions is not an overrated thing. I'm really still enjoying, I'm just sitting there having a cup of coffee. It's just dumb, but it's like, I really appreciate this moment. I appreciate little moments. I can stop and calm down, and everything's not running like 100 miles an hour all the time.
Mhm.
I actually can enjoy Christmas. Yay, because usually that's our holiday quarter where we are closing the books, and that's a very important quarter for my company, and you're just working all the way through it. I don't have to do that anymore. It's weird to not be working during Christmas, which is sad to say that. But going if whenever I do go on vacation, um, I won't have to bring my computer. That sucked to bring that. It's nice to just slow down. You think, you're enjoying yourself, you're enjoying your life, and you're concentrating on your health. And I really appreciate that lifestyle change.
Yeah. Wonderful. Now, I know you just shared retirement's not been without its challenges, although I think the positives significantly outweigh the challenges. What's been the single, if you had to summarize it, the single greatest transformation of who Monique was prior to retirement to who Monique is post retirement?
I'm a lot more positive. Look, people still call me a glasses half empty person. Okay. So, but I find it that I'm just a realist with just a tinge of cynicism once in a while. But here's the change, right? I still look at things from a realistic point of view, potential, pitfalls or something. I still look at all of things from a realistic lens. However, because I kind of have a clearer head and I'm a little bit more peaceful, I feel confident that I can come up with, positive solutions to things. Before I wasn't like that. I think I wasn't even actually the best person to be around while I was working. The stress was sort of weighing me down, so I was sort of a little grouchy, you know. But now, um, part of this transformation too is the fact that I'm not stressed out and I don't get bothered a lot. When I finally do talk to somebody new, whether it's a new neighbor or I don't know, a repair person that comes to the house, or I don't know who I'm talking to, I end up chatting them up. I never did that. I never chat anybody up. I'm usually very like, are you here to, fine, do it. I'm just very like short and abrupt. Here, it's like, how's your day going? I just have a conversation with people, which is crazy. That's another thing. I can actually have a conversation with people. I actually talk and engage with my family and my friends, where before I didn't have time. I never have any time. Um, it's sad to say that out loud, but I I have an aunt she's 87 years old. She lives in Las Vegas. I call her every week and we chat for like 2 to 3 hours. I just had two friends I caught up with, two marathon phone calls. One was 4 hours and the other one was 5 hours.
Oh
I
my gosh.
never had time to do that. And it was amazing. I think with the few people that I do have in my life, I am engaging with them more. I feel like I'm actually developing those relationships. I just am a lot more positive now, which nobody would have said that about me before. Nobody would have said that about me. I'm like Miss Negative all the time. But now, I mean, it's all good now. I feel great. So,
It's all good now. That's great. Thank you, Monique. For people who are listening, a lot of people listen contemplating retirement, even more so for the psychological reasons than financial reasons sometimes. What do you wish you knew prior to retiring that you do know now? And maybe we can leave that with the audience as we start to wrap up.
I mean, part of it is before I retired, I actually wish that I had educated myself a little bit more. I think you had a guest on that said he'd been planning retirement forever, for as long as he can remember. I didn't. I didn't know. I wish I'd educated myself on my own personal finances. I didn't know enough. And when I joined the tech company that I worked at, they gave me stock options, they gave me RSUs, and I had no idea what the difference was between them. I had no idea what the tax implications were for them. I just should have looked into it, but I never did. It could have had, it could have impacted. I could have retired earlier if I knew what I was doing. So I wish I had educated myself a bit more about that. Going into retirement, I mean, if you're going into retirement, you do have to plan for some things. You got to organize your finances. You got to look at what you're really going to spend in retirement. Be honest about how much you're going to spend in retirement. Take care of some of those larger expenses while you're still working, so that you don't have to deal with that in retirement. I think that you should take care of even some of your healthcare issues while you're still under your employer's health plan. Like, take care of some of those things going in there, because your health is going to be paramount. But then I think that, I think you need to really plan what you're going to do. And if you look at it through the lens, look, we're not going to be here forever. Time is limited, right? So what do you want to do with your time? If you're able to have the money to be financially free, what are you going to do with all that time? But it's a great chance to either reinvent yourself, get to know yourself. Don't be afraid of it. If it feels like you're struggling, just realize that when you were in the working world, you were dealing with a lot of stress of deadlines and problem solving and workplace politics. Just have the confidence to know you're going to be able to solve whatever issue you find in retirement. Literally don't give up. You're going to find the answer somewhere if you're a little bit lost. Great chance to reinvent yourself and have a second life, if you will.
Well, that is all excellent feedback and perspective, and really appreciate you being open about both what's gone well and some of the challenges in retirement. But Monique, really appreciate you taking the time and joining me here on the Ready for Retirement podcast. Thanks so much.
Thank you for having me.
Root Financial has not provided any compensation for and does not influence the content of any testimonials and endorsements shown. Any testimonials and endorsements shown have been invited, have been shared with each individual's permission, and are not necessarily representative of the experience of other clients. To our knowledge, no other conflicts of interest exist regarding these testimonials and endorsements. Once again, I'm James Knoll, founder of Root Financial, and if you're interested in seeing how we help our clients at Root Financial get the most out of life with their money, be sure to visit us at www.rootfinancialpartners.com.